everyone, Caitlin Classing here with the second vlog for Dark Magic Sea, aka Jelly. And Jelly came to us March 1st from her owner and breeder, Lori Cameron. So she's been here just a bit under 60 days, and so the backing process is still very much ongoing and still very fresh in our mind. So I should be able to take you through week by week so you can see what the process looks like, and we can give you some insights into how Jelly has taken to it all. So here we are, it's week 1 of her training. And to start with, we're just getting her used to the tools of the trade. So she's got the saddle on, she's got the bridle, and she's getting me bellying her. So that's just dead weight on her back. She's getting used to carrying the weight of the rider. And Dan's on the ground introducing her to the basic aids. That would be the driving aids, which here is the whip. And then we still have the halter on, but the hand coming into play as well. Now, week 2, I've thrown a leg over her. And again, I'm pretty much just dead weight on her back at this point, getting her used to the feel of having a rider on her back, and Dan is still in control from the ground. So he is very much still running the show, and my job is just to stay in balance with her and to make sure that I'm not distracting her, but at the same time getting her used to what it feels like to have a person on her back. Now, week 3, we are moved from the stall into the barn aisle, and we work the young horses a lot in the barn because that's where they're comfortable. They come into the barn all day, they eat, get groomed and handled in the barn, and it's very much their safe space. So we want to start working with them where they're already comfortable. And here you can see we're doing something we call wogos. So I'm taking a little bit of a feel of her mouth and putting a leg on her side. Dan's still on the ground reinforcing the aids, but we're gradually starting to transfer control from the rider, or from the person on the ground, to the rider. And you'll see a few things about the way we start horses. We start them in a racing saddle or an exercise saddle. And this is for a few different reasons. One, the way we do our backing, if a horse is going to buck or bronc, we don't really want to be on their back. We haven't done our job. We'll go back to explaining things on the ground. So from that point of view, we would rather have an exercise saddle than a stock saddle or even some of the saddles we ride in. And 2, just from a practical standpoint, it keeps our saddle safe when we're working with young horses, and it also gives us a little bit of a better feel of what's going on underneath of us. So now we've progressed on, still working in the barn, starting to push her outside of the barn aisle, saying even though you don't normally go out this way, you've got the person on the ground reinforcing my driving aids, sending you forward. And now we're having a little bit of trot. And again, I'm closing my leg to encourage her forward, but this is just really to get her used to the feel of trotting with a rider on her back. So I'm doing my very best to stay in balance. And you'll notice we still have a halter on as well. And we'll always work the young horses with the halter. Their mouths are not educated enough yet that if we needed to put a good hand on them, we wouldn't want to take the bit. We still want to have a halter on because that's what they're more used to. So now we're in week 5, and you can see we've progressed from having a grounds person to help reinforce the aids to now she is just being ridden by herself. The aids are coming solely from Dan on her back. So again, we're still in the barn, still sort of controlling the variables as we go. This is where she's comfortable. This is where she's happy. And she's going to get used to Dan closing her legs. You'll see as she comes down here to the end of the aisle, she gets a little bit stuck. But Dan's able to close his leg and kind of talk her through that and say, keep moving your hind feet, because ultimately that's what we want to control when we're riding the young horses. If you can control the horse's hind feet, you can control the horse. And so that's the main focus of our backing process. And now here we're in week 6, and we're starting to work her outside of the barn. And some of the young horses we would work in the indoor at this point. We just found with Jelly, in the indoor, she wasn't particularly relaxed or comfortable, which would make sense at age 4. I think she's spent most of her time outside. So we're working her where she's relaxed and comfortable. And there's a reason that relaxation is the second tier of the training scale. If a horse isn't relaxed, we can't have them giving us their full body, their full athleticism, and their attention and focus. But we do still have the fencing from the paddock, and you saw earlier Dan was working her in between the fence line and the outside wall of the arena, so that gives her a little bit of a barrier, because steering at this point is still pretty optional. We don't work too much on the steering until we really have them confirmed and going forward from our leg, because the energy has to be going out to the bit, and then we can start to channel it left or right. And you'll see here she goes to look a little bit at the water trough, but just like when she was in the barn, rather than taking the right hand and pulling her nose towards it, Dan just keeps pushing her hind feet and sending the energy forward, because ultimately that's going to be how we give her the confidence to really listen and tune into her rider, that we're consistent. Leg always means keep moving your feet. Even if you want to have a little look left or right, we're going to keep riding this aid forward, taking the energy forward, and ultimately she'll start to listen to us rather than worry about what's going on around her. So here we've moved into the outdoor. And this is actually a harder environment for the young horses to work in. The jumps move at least every week, sometimes more often. So they've got the barrels, the skinnies, all the different things they can see. And we don't have fencing around our outdoor, so there's not something to kind of bounce them off of. So we don't work out here until we're pretty confident that the horse has created almost a tunnel from our leg out to the contact. So we don't need to worry about going to our hand to steer or control them. So Dan's just sending her forward into a very light contact, and here he'll have a little transition forward to canter. And again, at this point, it's not so much a canter aid as it is just getting her balance going to the left and then asking her to keep going forward until she, being a well-balanced horse, picks up the correct lead. So we've really enjoyed having Jelly in the barn. She's such a quality horse. At age 4, she is getting a little bit of a later start than some of the other young horses in the barn. But all roads kind of lead to Rome. So we are not focusing so much on her 4-year-old year as we are focusing on how we want to produce her for her 8, 9, 10 plus year old year, because she is obviously a very quality athlete and a really quality mare. And so our main goal is to help produce her to the highest of her ability. And we're really excited and enjoying working with her. And I will keep you all posted on her progress throughout the year.